So we are starting our class. Today's topic is differentiation and the application of differentiation in physics. So I hope all have joined, and let's start. So again, I welcome each and every one of you to UAM Jaipur, and these are my introductory physics classes. I am Professor Dipali Gupta, working in University of Engineering and Management Jaipur. And today's topic is differentiation in physics. Let me just go to the slide. So this is our journey till now. Today is our fifth class, and this is our journey till now. So till now, we have covered almost 70 to 80 PPTs, slides of this PPT. So yeah, we have covered around 75 PPTs till now. 76 we will start today. So let me start off with asking. Let me ask you a question. So what is differentiation? Does any of you can tell me what is differentiation? Other than explaining it in mathematical terms, can you explain it in literal terms or in language terms? So if you want to answer, you have an answer. If you want to participate, you can just give a message in the chat box, or you can unmute your audio and speak. Mm, Okay, to make difference. Dev Malia is Arya is saying to make difference. So Dev Malia is saying process of differentiating and distinguishing between two or more things. No, that is segregation. Dev Malia. When you differentiate, that is segregation. I am talking about differentiation. So Rijwan is saying to find derivative. So what is derivative? Till now, Arya's definition is good to make difference. It is not to make difference. It is rather than it is to calculate change. Okay. So let me start off with an example. Suppose you are traveling on your, you are just walking, and in first 1 minute you have walked 1 meter. In next 1 minute, in 1 second, you walk 2 meters. In next 1 second, you walk 3 meters. So with change in time, the distance covered by you is also changing. With change in time, the distance covered by you is also changing. So this change is very important in physics. So everything that we measure in terms of change. First we take our reference point, and then we just go over that what is the change with respect to this reference point, what is the change with respect to this with uh, with respect to this certain entity. So change is very important in physics, and to measure change, and this change is derivative. Now the process of finding this derivative or change is called differentiation. So Divya is saying the instantaneous rate of change of function. So it's okay, nice definition. Dev Male is again saying to allow to find rates of change. Yes. So Ripu is saying change in one with respect to other. Okay, the perfect definition has come. So change in one quantity with respect to another quantity is, derivative, and the process of finding the derivative is called differentiation. Okay, so let me ask you a very question that is based on observation. So suppose you have a sphere in front of you. So the volume of sphere is 4 pi 4 by 3 pi r cube. Suppose this r is changing. So what is the derivative? What is the derivative of volume with respect to radius? What is the derivative of volume with respect to radius? The answer is the derivative volume with respect to radius is surface area. Now when you differentiate surface area, with respect to again, distance, it becomes a line. When you further differentiate a line, it becomes a point. And when you further differentiate a point, it becomes 0. What I mean to say is that when you are differentiating volume, you got surface. When you differentiated surface, you got line. When you differentiated line, you got a point, and when you differentiated a point, you got 0. The differentiation is jumping from higher dimension to lower dimension. Differentiation is a process in which we jump from a higher dimension to a lower dimension. So if we have x cube, it becomes x square. So if we have x square, it becomes x. I'm not, just giving. I'm just giving you the power, not the actual answer. So if we have x cube, it becomes 3x square. So if it is 3x square, then it becomes 6x. Then if it is 6x, then it becomes 6. So x cube is suppose volume. The x square is surface area, obviously. 6x will be a line, and 6 is a point. So I think you understand now that when you differentiate, you jump from a higher dimension to a lower dimension. So if you differentiate something, then you find something which has a lower dimension. So if you differentiate volume, or if you differentiate x raised to the power n, you get in the next step you get x raised to the power n minus 1. So this is differentiation, and it is very important in physics. So let's start off with the PPT again. So differentiation is a differential calculus, is a subfield of calculus that deals with the rate at which quantities change. So we are interested in rates at which quantity change, because when things change, the quantification and the quantification of the changes and the quality of understanding of those changes become very important in physics. Because what is physics? Physics is just understanding what is going on, around us. So first of all, we are interested in doing observation. How we can observe? We can observe only by seeing changes. When we see changes, how can we quantify these changes? We quantify these changes with the help of differentiation. So whenever we differentiate with respect to something. Okay, so these are some examples. First example is change in population with respect to geographical locations. Change in population with respect to geographical locations. For example, we are talking about populations in Uttar Pradesh and populations in suppose Ladakh. So obviously there is a change, and if we want to calculate this change, we want to calculate this gradual change, then we will calculate dn by dx. If n is the population and x is the position. Next, we want to calculate change in population with respect to time. So how population is changing with respect to time, that is dn by dt. The population is changing with respect to time. Okay. The third case is while deflating the volume, the volume of balloon decreases. जब balloon की हवा निकलती है तो balloon की volume decrease हो जाती है with respect to radius, and it is calculated as dv by dx. And next and most important thing that we use is slope. Slope is tangent, which is y with respect to x. It is dy by dx. These are some examples of the differentiation. So how many of you have any questions from this part? Examples. How many of you are feeling any difficulty from the example part? Okay, so let me ask. Okay, so you people give me an example of change. Now you people have to give me an example of change that is happening surrounding us, and with help of which differential, which derivative we are calculating that change. I gave you 4 examples. I'm asking from examples from your side of differentiation or of changes that we measure regularly around us. Do you people have any examples? If not from surroundings, from your books. Okay. So change of corona data with respect to time. Very good. So it is right now it is exponential. exponential, right, Aniket? Right now it is exponential, and we are just trying to, first it will go exponentially increasing, then it will become stable, constant for some time, and then it will decrease. So we are waiting for the peak, decrease in peak. So very good. Change of coronary with respect to time is our first example. Change in position of sun with respect to time. Okay, right? Another one. Any other example? No. Okay. These are the examples. So now coming back to physics, the differentiation with respect to time. So we calculate velocity, acceleration, and force by differentiating a certain quantity with respect to time. So let me ask you people, how do you calculate velocity? Which quantity do you differentiate with respect to time that you get velocity? Which physical quantity do you differentiate with respect to time that you get velocity as your answer? Dev Male, no. Which quantity, which physical quantity do you do you differentiate with respect to time that you get velocity? The right answer is displacement. Very good. So when we differentiate displacement with respect to time, we get velocity, right? So Dev Malia, the example that he has given is change of current with respect to time in our devices. Okay, change in universe with respect to time. So Vishwajit, let me just elaborate your answer. Change, not change in universe, change in expansion of universe. So with time the universe is expanding, and that process is also accelerating. It is not expanding at a constant rate, it is accelerating. So we are interested in this expansion of universe, and with how much time this process is changing. So that is a very good example. Both corona and universe both are very good examples. So velocity we get by differentiating displacement with respect to time. Now, next question. Which physical quantity do you differentiate with respect to time that you get acceleration? Which physical quantity do you differentiate with respect to time that you get acceleration? Very good. Velocity. So when you derivate velocity dv by dt with respect to time, okay, when you differentiate velocity, that is dv by dt with dv by dt, you get acceleration. The next question is, which physical quantity do you differentiate in order to get force? Which physical quantity do you differentiate with respect to time in order to get force? What is Newton's second law? Newton's second law of motion. So again, I'm repeating my question. Which physical quantity do you differentiate with respect to time in order to get force? And the hint is the Newton's second law. Newton's second law most commonly is known as F is equals to ma. Yeah. So momentum is the quantity which we differentiate with respect to time that we get force. Force is calculated by differentiating momentum with respect to time. Right? Next is differentiation. Differentiation with respect to position. So there are certain quantities in physics which we calculate by differentiating certain quantities with respect to positions. First is potential energy. In case of conservative force, when you differentiate potential, when you differentiate force, sorry, when you differentiate potential with respect to position, you get force. Okay, so force is equals to minus dv by dx. So I should have written either here force. So not potential energy, I should have written here force. So next is slope. Slope also we calculate by dv by dx. Gradient means change in something with respect to length. So normally we calculate mass gradient and velocity gradient. So mass gradient we calculate when we study Young's modulus, bulk matter, bulk properties of matter. There we calculate mass per unit length or mass gradient. Velocity gradient we calculate in case of viscosity. When we study viscosity, we have this velocity gradient. So what is gradient? Gradient is differentiating a certain quantity with respect to position, with respect to length. Mass gradient is dm by dx. Velocity gradient is dv by dx. Slope is dy by dx. And the last quantity is strain, and strain is also dy by dx. So are the examples clear? Are these derivatives clear to you? The common derivatives that we use in physics. So should I move forward? So have I left any example? Can you give any more example of any derivative that I have left? Okay. So these are the derivatives that we normally see in our notebooks when we study physics. So let's start off with the applications. So can you people tell me what are the applications of differentiation in physics? To calculate what quantities or to calculate what results do you use derivatives? Where do you use these derivatives when you study physics? To find instantaneous result. Very good. To calculate errors. Very good. Very good. And I know total 5 applications. For finding rate, slope of tangent. Very good. Right. We find rate and slope with the help of differentiation. So what are other applications? So these three mostly covered 80% of the applications. Okay. So first application is maxima and minima. We calculate maxima and minima with the help of differentiation. Second, calculation of scientific error. The scientific error is calculated with the help of differentiation. Third is graphical method and slope calculation. So, dealing with graphs become very easy if you have very clear concept of differentiation and slope calculation. Fourth is curve tracing. So, if you have a random function, you can easily plot it without putting values, without hit and trial method, with the help of differentiation. Fifth, provides more information. If, if for example, if you know position or displacement, with the help of differentiation, you can calculate velocity and acceleration also. So differentiation sometimes help us to gather more information about our system. So these are the main basic applications, and we will, yes, curve tracing. Ritu, should I explain curve tracing again? Okay. So whenever a complex graph, complex relation is given to you, for example, I give you 4x square minus x is equals to 0. Okay. So one process is that you can just you know find the roots and calculate the calculate the roots and trace the graph roughly. If the order increases, suppose I give you x raised to the power minus x4 plus x3 plus x2 minus 1 is equals to 0. Now the finding the roots and tracing the graph becomes very hard by hit and trial method or by finding the roots. So what we do is we find maxima and minima of this graph, and by that, with the help of those, we roughly plots the graph on our paper. So sometimes differentiation becomes very handy when we trace graphs. Okay, so that's why I've mentioned curve tracing. Is it clear now? Okay, so these are 5 applications that we will talk about today. So first, I want to give you a task. I'm sure you people are having a pen and paper. So your task is that suppose a particle of 1 kg mass is executing SHM, simple harmonic motion, in which a way in such a way that its position time relation is estimated to be x is equals to 10 sine omega t in meters, and the particle completes one revolution in 10 seconds. The spring constant of the system is 1 Newton per meter. Gather other information about this particle from the given data. So you have the equation of displacement, you have the equation for displacement, and another information that are given are that mass is equals to 1 kg. The time period that the time is taken by the particle to complete one revolution is 10 seconds, and the spring constant is also 1 Newton per meter. So can you gather other information about this particle from these, from this 3 4 lines? Can you gather other information? Yes or no? So if you are given displacement and some other points, so are you able to calculate other information about this particle from this data? So Rizwan is saying yes, he is able to calculate. What about others? What about others? Aniket is also saying that he can calculate. How will you calculate? What mathematical function or mathematical operation will you use? You will use differentiation. So if position is given, what can be calculated? So how many? Okay, count. How many quantities can you calculate? How many quantities can you calculate from this much data? Can you give me a number that I can calculate this much quantities? From this data, how many quantities can you calculate? From position, how many quantities can you calculate in this particular problem? This problem. Today the feedback of students is very slow. Is everyone's net is okay? Is your net working fine? So which quantities can you calculate from position? Ipu is saying that we can calculate velocity and acceleration. Right, velocity and acceleration are okay, very good. So can you calculate kinetic energy if you know velocity? Mass is given. Can we calculate kinetic energy? Okay. So till now we have uh, velocity, acceleration, kinetic energy. So if k is given, spring constant is given, and position is given, can we calculate potential energy? Can we calculate potential energy? By the formula half k x square. Yes, so potential energy. So if we know about kinetic energy and potential energy, can we calculate total energy? Okay. So total energy, momentum also we can calculate. Momentum is changing with every instant of time. So momentum also we can calculate by multiplying mass into velocity. So total 6 quantities we can calculate from position. Total 6 quantities we can calculate from position. So how we will calculate? First we have x. By differentiating this x with respect to time, we get velocity. From velocity, we get momentum and kinetic energy. From this velocity, again differentiating it, we get acceleration. From this x, we get potential energy. From potential energy and kinetic energy, we get total energy. The total we will have 8 quantities in total. X, from x v, from v a, from v kinetic energy, momentum, from x potential energy. Okay, so from potential energy and kinetic energy we can calculate total energy. So is it clear to you how much data you can gather from single displacement relation if you have a concept of differentiation? So should we do this further now? Okay, so let's start. So total, so the question now arrives. How many quantities can you calculate? So we can calculate almost 6 to 7 quantities, right? Now the next question is how much data can you gather? You can calculate 7 quantities to 6 quantities, but how much data can you gather? Can anybody answer? How much data can you gather? So we can gather infinite amount of data from these relations because for one instant of time we have 7 quantities, and for every instant of time we will have this 7 into number of instants we are taking. So time we can break into infinite time instants, and infinite into 7 is also infinite. So we can have infinite data from single one relation, and from single one relation we can have 6 to 7 physical quantities. So by differentiation we can gather more and more information about the system if the single one relation is given. Okay, so moving on. So you can calculate position, this velocity, acceleration, potential energy, kinetic energy, and total energy. Momentum I have skipped. Okay, so these are the quantities that you can calculate by using the particular the derivative, and these are the secondary quantities that we can calculate with the help of this velocity and position. Okay, now you people have to calculate the quantities, the above 6 quantities. Calculate the above 6 quantities for time is equals to t by 2, where capital T is time period and omega is equals to 2 pi by t. Can you calculate position? Can you calculate position? So position will be, so position will be, so you have to, in place of omega you have to write 2 pi by capital T, and in place of t you have to write t by 2. So it becomes sine pi. So what is the value of sine pi? Sine pi is 0. So displacement becomes 0. Similarly, by differentiating this x, you get 10 omega cos omega t. So this is the solution. So x will be 0, velocity will be 2 pi, acceleration will be 0. So obviously, if x is 0, potential energy will be 0. Velocity is 2 pi, then kinetic energy will be 2 pi square, and total energy will be U plus K, which will be equal to K, as my potential energy is equals to 0. So we just saw the application of derivative or differentiation, that by knowing x, the relation of x, we could calculate six other quantities or five other quantities, and the data that we have gathered is infinite because we are gathering data at every instant of time. We are having 6 points of data, and for multiple instants of time we will have infinite data. Okay, so this was first application of derivative. The second application of derivative is error calculation. Second point of derivative, the second application of differentiation is error calculation. So the error for the equation for differential maxima is 2d sine theta is equals to n lambda. Suppose you are doing an experiment in a lab in which you want to find out the unknown wavelength, and you somehow measure this theta, this angle of diffraction, and this d, the slit width, with the help of a traveling microscope. So what is the scientific error? So to calculate scientific error, we use differentiation. What we do is that we take this n in denominator. So this becomes lambda is equal to 2d sine theta upon n. Then we take the natural log of the above relation. After taking the natural log, it will be ln2 plus lnd plus ln sine theta minus ln n is equal to ln lambda. Second, we differentiate. So we differentiate this ln d with respect to d, ln sin theta with respect to theta, ln n with respect to n, ln lambda with respect to lambda. This becomes 0 plus delta d by d plus, what is the differentiation of ln sin theta? Differentiation of ln sin theta will be n 1 upon sin theta into cos theta into d theta. So it will be cot d theta or cos theta delta theta upon sin theta minus delta n by n is equal to delta lambda by lambda. So is it clear? Till now, is it clear to you? This is how we could use differentiation to calculate error. This is how we could use differentiation to calculate scientific error. It sees error are of many types. Scientific error, percentage error. So this is the scientific error case. So here, note here, delta n by n is 0. So we are not using any instrument to measure this n. So we will just put delta n by n is equals to 0. Now maxima and minima. So if you want to see the physical significance and the physical meaning of maxima and minima, so let's start with the understanding of the process. Let's understand with the help of sine curve and take slopes at random points on the curve. So are you people able to curve out a sine theta graph? If somebody gives you a task to tell the graph of sine theta, can you make it? Can you draw it? Sine theta. Oh, and what about cos theta? So what is sine theta at theta 0? What is sine theta at theta 0? It means a graph will start from origin. It means a graph will start from origin. So see how our graph is starting from origin. This is not sine theta graph, this is 3x. The graph that is shown here, it is sine 3x. So suppose we took random points and we draw their tangent. So what is tangent? Tangent is a line which is drawn on a particular point in such a way that it is only passing through that point in the vicinity of that point and not crossing the graph at any other point. तो टेंजेंट जो होती है वो ग्राफ को सिर्फ एक पॉइंट पे टच करती है पॉइंट की विसिनिटी में, और कोई और पॉइंट टच नहीं करती है. कोई और पॉइंट टच करेगी तो वो टेंजेंट की जगह कॉर्ड बन जाएगा. आप एक काम करो, आप एक सर्कल लो अपनी इमेजिनेशन में. उस सर्कल के सेंटर से पास होता हुआ एक डायमीटर बनाओ, सर्कल के सेंटर से पास होता हुआ डायमीटर बनाओ। अब उसका शिफ्ट करते जाओ, तो पहले डायमीटर है, शिफ्ट करते रहेंगे तो कोड 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 कोड, एक पॉइंट आएगा जब ये जो कोड है, जो डायमीटर इनिशियली था, इट विल टच ओनली वन पॉइंट ऑफ द on the circumference of the circle. Then at that point, the diameter or that chord becomes a tangent. So tangent is a point. It is a line which touches the curve exactly at one point in the vicinity of the point. So is the definition of tangent clear to you? So if you take a circle in your imagination and you imagine the center and a diameter passing through the center, and you just keep on shifting the diameter. So instead of being diameter, now it has become a chord, smaller chord, much smaller chord, and finally it becomes a point. And the line passing through that point is tangent to that circle. So here we took random tangents at different points. All of these lines are touching the graph exactly at only one point. So here one important thing that we are observing is that in one particular case the tangent is perpendicular to x-axis. In some particular condition, tangent is parallel to x-axis. Okay, so we are interested in these type of positions where tangent is parallel to x-axis. So here tangent is a line drawn to a curve, say at point P, such that it touches the curve only at point P in the vicinity of the point. तो पॉइंट की विसिनिटी में ये सिर्फ P पॉइंट पर ही लाइन को टच, कर्व को टच करेगा. So we are interested in points on which tangent is parallel to x-axis. So if you take a normal sine theta graph, can you draw a sine theta graph in your notebook, please? Take a notebook and pen, draw a sine theta graph. Draw a sine theta graph, and after drawing, in the interval of 0 and pi, can you identify how many points are there at which, if you draw the tangent, it will be parallel to x-axis? I'm repeating again. I'm asking you to draw a sine theta curve in your notebook. And in the interval 0 to pi, I'm asking you to identify the points at which, if you draw the tangent, it will be parallel to x-axis. The tangent will be parallel to x-axis. So how many points will you find in the interval from 0 to pi? Can anyone answer? So many people are saying 1 point, that is at pi by 2 when sine theta becomes maximum. So this answer is only 33.33% right. You have skipped 2 points. Again check your notebook and see what are the other 2 points. 2 points at which tangent is becoming parallel to x-axis. In total we have 3 points. This is the curve for sine theta, and as you can see, at 90-degree angle, at 180-degree angle, and at 270-degree angle, if I draw the tangent, then this tangent is parallel to x-axis. This tangent is parallel to x-axis. Okay, so at 90-degree, fx is equals to 1. As sine theta is 1, so this point will be maxima. At point, at point this 180-degree, the tangent can be defined perpendicularly, parallel to y-axis. So the tangent is not defined here, but still we say this point is stationary point. And the last is that at 270-degree, the tangent is parallel to x-axis and is minima. Okay. So with the help of tangent, you could find maxima and minima if you know how to draw a graph. Now the next point is how to identify. Here we have graph. We could identify maxima and minima or stationary point. So how to identify if we get by calculating differentiation and putting it equals to zero, we got points. And then how to differentiate among those points which one is maximum and which one is minima. What we do is we draw, we take out second derivative. So now let me ask you, if you have sine theta, what will be the second derivative of sine theta? If you have sine theta, what will be the second derivative of sine theta? Minus sine theta, very good. So can you draw us a curve of minus sine theta on your notebook? Can you draw, a diagram or a curve of minus sine theta? It will be just the inverted image of the sine theta. If you consider x-axis to be mirror, then just make the mirror image of the above. Inverted, right? So, okay. So maybe you will get this type of graph, right? Inverted sine theta. So you could see when we draw second derivative sine theta, and the points for which the tangent was parallel to axis, if we see the values of these points and we see the value of y or y double dash at this point, we will see that at maxima we will always get negative values, and at minima we will always get positive values, and for stationary point we will always get zero. The point of conflict, for point of conflict we will always get zero. So this is the concept of maxima and minima. Whenever you are given a function and you have to calculate maximum or minima, you knew that you have to derivate it, put it equals to zero. Then the points and the roots, sorry, the points that we get at which the tangent is zero, the tangent is parallel to x-axis. At those points, we check the value of double derivative of function. Now, after calculating the double derivative of function, what we do is that we check the value. The value is negative, then the initial point was maxima. If the value is positive, then the initial point is minimum. If the value of double derivative is again is zero, then the point is point of conflict. So is it, I have tried to explain the process of the concept of maxima and minima with the help of graph and differentiation only. So is it clear? Is it clear to you? So why do we calculate? Why do we calculate derivative? Why do we find the second derivative? And why at negative derivative we get negative second derivative we get maxima and positive second derivative we get minima. So this was the combination of graphical representation as well as derivative. Okay, so let's start the question. Question again is that suppose a particle of mass 1 kg is executing SHM, same question, in such a way that its position time relation is estimated to be this. The particle completes one revolution in 10 seconds, and the spring constant of the system is 1 Newton per meter. Gather the information about this particle graphically. So this time you have to, gather the information of this particle graphically. So first you have to draw the graph of x. Second, you have to draw the graph of velocity. Third, you have to draw the graph of acceleration. And now you have to identify the points of maxima and minima with the help of differentiation. So you will just identify the positions where which the tangent will be, parallel to x-axis, and then see if it is a maxima or a minima. So can you people draw this, do this exercise? Can you people do this exercise? Can you, plot the graph of x velocity and acceleration and find maximas and minimas? So here is my solution. So I apologize for the bad handwriting and bad diagram, but the x will be 10 sine theta, 10 sine omega t, velocity will be 10 omega cos omega t, and acceleration will be minus 10 omega square sine omega t. So as you can see that the x is simple sine graph, velocity is simple cos graph, acceleration is inverted sine graph, and the maxima of x and the maxima of acceleration are at same point. The maxima of x and the maxima of acceleration are the same point. However, for maxima of x, we will get minima of velocity, and for minima maximum of velocity, we will get minima of x. So by graphical method, we could have further much more information rather than analytical method. In analytical method, we were just having functions, but it was not clear at what point velocity is going maximum, at what point position is going maximum. But with the help of differentiation and graphs, we now have much more clear picture of the SHM. So the direction, but one other observation that we can observe from this graph is that the direction of position and the direction of this acceleration is inverted. The maximum of x and the maximum of acceleration are at the same time instant. However, at the same time instant, velocity will be minimum. So this is how you use differentiation plus graphs to have a simpler and a clear picture of the process. Now the next question is that, okay, so the next question is that suppose we have an SHM equation in terms of cos. So we have a cos omega t. So the equation of x will be in terms of cos. So when you differentiate this, it becomes cos becomes minus sine. So now velocity becomes minus sine. So inverted graph of sine, and acceleration becomes again inverted cos. So here also sine, cos, acceleration and position are inverted. They are following same cos function, but they are inverted in direction. So if it is going in positive x direction, it will go in negative x direction. Okay. Also, the maxima of x and the maxima of a are the same time. However, we are getting minima of velocity whenever we are getting maxima of x and maxima of a. So when you practice all these things on your notebook, it will be clear to you. Now, next question is that draw a circle of radius 5 and center 0, 0. Find the tangent line at point 0, 5 and 5, 0. So can you draw a circle having center 0, 0 and radius 5? So what will be the tangent at 0, 5 or 5, 0? Graphically, you do not have to use any mathematics, because you know that tangent is derivative, and tangent is a point which is touching the surface at that point, at that point only. So first you have to draw the circle, and then you have to find the tangent. I'm drawing tangent in my notebook. So I'm sure every one of you has got this type of circle. Center is 0, 0 and the radius is 5. So the circle is touching x-axis at 5, 0 and y-axis at 0, 5. So has everyone got the same diagram from the equation? The tangent at 5, 0 will be tangent at 5, 0 will be this line. This line is x is equals to 5. And tangent at 0, 5 will be y is equals to 5. So the answer is here. This is the circle. The tangent at 5, 0 will be this line. This line is x is equals to 5. And tangent at 0, 5 will be this line and this line is y is equals to 5. So we did not use differentiation directly, but we applied the concept of tangent. You can calculate the same with the help of differentiation also. The equation of this circle will be x square plus y square is equals to 25. The equation of this circle will be x square plus y square is equals to 25. And from there you can calculate the tangent dy by dx. And to find the specific tangents, you can put the value 5, 0 and 0, 5 and you will get the same answers. X is equals to 5 and y is equals to 5. Okay. So moving on to next question. The position of an object at any time is given by s is equals to 3t raised to the power 4 minus 44 t raised to the power 3 plus 108 t square plus 20. Determine the velocity of the object at any time t. The position is given, you have to calculate velocity. So how will you calculate velocity? So we will just differentiate with respect to time. So velocity will be dx by dt and dx by dt. For t square it will be 3t cube. For t cube it will be 3t square. For t square it will be 2t and the derivative of 20 becomes 0. So what will be the answer? The answer will be in place of t raised to the power 4, it will be 3t cube. In place of 3t cube, it will be 3t square. In place of t square, it will be 2t. And plus 20 will become 0. Now the next question is, can you identify the points of maxima and minima in the interval minus 1 to 2? In the interval minus 1 to 2, can you identify the positions of maxima and minima? Yes, Divya, thank you. So now next question is that in the interval minus 2 to 2, can you identify the positions and at which we are getting maxima and minima? So maxima and minima are the points at which the tangent is parallel to x-axis. So how many points can you see here at which the tangent is parallel to x-axis? How many points can you identify here at which the, okay, 3 points are there, right, Tripu? 3 points are there, -1, 0, and 1. And -1 and 1, the point is maxima, and at 1, the point is, so -1 and 1 are point of maxima, and 0 is the point of minima. Okay, next question and the last question of the class. Find the scientific error in the experiment based on the formula y is equal to a square b cube upon c raised to the power 4, where a, b, c are measured using a screw gauge of least count 0.1. Suppose a, b, c are equals to 1. So what will be the scientific error in y? What will be the scientific error in y? So I'm giving you 2 minutes to solve the questions. This is the question. The scientific error in the experiment based on the formula is given y is equals to a square b cube and c raised to the power 4. So what will be the answer of error? 1. It's not 1, it's 0.1. 0.1. If A, B, C are equals to 1 and delta A, delta B, delta C are equals to 0.1, then what will be the answer? Answer will be 0.1. So in place of delta A, delta B, and delta C, we always take the least count of the instrument by which we have measured A, B, and C. And in place of A, B, and C, we take the values that are given to us. So we all A, B, C we have measured to the same screw gauge having least count 0.1. So in place of delta A, delta B, and delta C, we will put 0.1. In place of ABC, we will put 1, 1, 1. So the answer will be 5 minus 4 into 0.1 upon 1. And the answer will be 0.1. So delta y by y is 0.1. This is how we calculate scientific using differentiation. So integration we will skip. We will not do integration. We will not do integration because integration part will come in automatically will come in your electromagnetics. So we can skip that part. Trigonometry we can revise. I will revise. I will take your Viva kind of Viva. I'll just ask simple questions from trigonometry in the next class, and we will start with the fifth topic. So this was differentiation. Today we studied differentiation with the point of view of physics. So differentiation is mainly used. Let me give a summary. Differentiation is mainly used to calculate maxima, minima, uh, to find error, and to find rate in change, slope, tangent, like these quantities in physics. So delta A is considered as least count. See, delta A is the minimum quantity you can measure in A, and the minimum quantity is you can measure in A is limited by the amount, limited by the instrument that you use. So if you are using a screw gauge of better least count, delta A becomes the least count of that screw gauge. Delta A is the minimum quantity of A that you can measure. So since you are using instruments, the minimum quantity of A that you can measure automatically becomes the least count of the instrument that you are using to measure A. So today we studied differentiation. I hope the basic formulas of differentiation are clear to you. So in order to understand differentiation, we almost touched the part of SHM, simple harmonic motion. I hope today's class is clear to you. If you have any problems, you can ask now. So anyone having any questions? Anyone having any questions? Okay, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for this class. I hope to see you in my next class on next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Thank you so much.